All right. I'd like to call to order the May 19th, 2015 Statesboro City Council meeting. I would like to ask Councilman Will Britt to please lead us in our invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Thank you, Mayor. I asked Mr. Alan Muldrew if he would lead us in and lead us in prayers, and I will do the pledge.
We'll bow our heads, please. Heavenly Father, we thank you for a bright day today, Lord. We thank you that you've given us this opportunity to be together, Lord, to work on this business. I especially ask that you give us wisdom and guidance, Lord. May we be mindful that you watch over us, that through you comes success and prosperity for our community as we follow your ways and your laws, Lord. We ask for your grace and mercy on everyone here today, and thank you that we will be able to accomplish a lot of good things this year. Pray these things in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Please stand with me as we say the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll move to agenda item 3, which is recognition and public presentations, and we have a proclamation to present from City of Statesboro Public Works Division, recognizing the week of May 17th to 23rd, 2015 as Public Works Week.
Thank you, Mayor. And if I can, I'd like to highlight some of our accomplishments over the past year. Take a couple minutes. In our Parks Division, recently did some work at Renaissance Park. Staff coordinated this work for the Bullitt County Historical Society, performed renovations, including the clock tower replica. And this work was recently unveiled and featured in the newspaper. Edgewood Park, staff has been coordinating with the neighborhood and the councilman in the district to develop a master plan to bring back this park. Streets Division, we worked with the fire department, assisted them with the grading and landscaping operations for Station 1 renovations. This work has helped the fire department to stay well under budget and be able to complete all 3 phases of construction. Our Sanitation Division, we started a new roll-off service utilizing existing equipment and existing personnel to better support the sanitation fund. We now have 3 front-load commercial trucks using CNG to reduce fuel and operational costs. And our fleet maintenance, we recently completed work on our shop facility renovations, which includes installation of ventilation and gas detection system in the shop, which will allow staff to work on CNG vehicles and other vehicles in compliance with all applicable codes. Very few facilities in our region meet the standard. We have ASC certified, EPP certified, and CNG certified mechanics now. Our fleet maintenance operations now have mechanics that are certified to service CNG fueled vehicles. Our ASC Master Automobile Light Duty certified, ASC Medium Heavy Duty certified, and EPT Law Enforcement certified, and EPT Fire Operator certified. This is critical to ensure NFPA compliance for our fire departments. And very few service centers or fleet maintenance operations meet all these standards. And finally, in our Solid Waste Disposal Division, our inert landfill, we recently accepted by EPD to continue to operate the inert landfill under permit by rule. This concluded a year-long process that our consultant Golder Associates helped us to secure. This is a big deal for Statesboro Bullitt County, as EPD really wanted to force all inert landfills to go through a siting process, which would require public hearings, etc. We can now continue to operate as we have been doing for nearly 20 years. And it's just highlights some of the accomplishments in public works the last year.
Did you say, Jason, how many folks work in Public Works?
63.
Okay. I think people realize how big a department that is.
Yes, ma'am. It encompasses about 5 divisions.
Okay, I'm going to read the proclamation by the Mayor and City Council of Statesboro, Georgia as it regards Public Works Week. Whereas public works services provided in our community are an integral part of our citizens' everyday lives, and whereas the support of an understanding and informed citizenry is vital to the efficient operation of public works systems and programs such as solid waste collection, solid waste disposal, street maintenance, stormwater infrastructure, park maintenance, cemetery maintenance, and fleet maintenance. And whereas the health, safety, and quality of life of this community greatly depends on these services and facilities. Whereas the quality and effectiveness of these services and facilities, as well as their planning, design, construction, and management, is vitally dependent upon the efforts and skill of public works personnel. And whereas the efficiency of the qualified and dedicated personnel who staff the Public Works divisions is materially influenced by the public's attitude and understanding of the importance of the work they perform. And in honor of the 55th Annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association, it is most appropriate that we recognize the service of the Public Works personnel of the City of Statesboro. Now, I, Jan J. Moore, Mayor of Statesboro, Georgia, do hereby proclaim the week of May 17th through May 23rd as Public Works Week in the City of Statesboro, and further extend appreciation to our Public Works personnel for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to this community, and call upon all citizens to acquaint themselves with the matters involved in providing our public works services, and to recognize the contributions which our public works personnel make every day to our health, safety, comfort, and quality of life. Thank you. Okay, we're going to make a little bit of go move to the public comment section, and even though these are typically for agenda items, I understand we have somebody from the towing industry that would like to come forth and speak about the non-consensual tow rates, I believe. You could introduce yourself and tell us what you want to talk about today.
I'm Tracy Hart. I own and operate A&P Record Service located in Brooklyn. Been in business about 21 years now. Most of you are familiar with me. I just learned a few weeks back that the council votes on the towing ordinance for Statesboro in June of every year. Did not know that. Come about through a letter from the police department. I had a meeting with Rob Ryan and Captain Forney about 3 weeks ago to discuss the fees that the council has voted on in the past, and to discuss a possible increase on these fees. We met for quite some time, discussed many different things, one being the non-consensual towing for Statesboro. The city years ago decided to regulate that. It is already regulated by the state. In this past year, the state of Georgia decided that an increase was justified. In the past, last year and the previous few years, they were allowing us to, if it was a non-consensual tow, to charge the public $125 for that tow. Back this past year, they changed that to $150, and I think the city rate on that has been $110. Again, that's one of the things we discussed. We also discussed towing that would do for the actual police department, whether it's a DUI or a wreck, improperly parked cars. And I would like to remind you also that an improperly parked car is a different concern than a non-consensual tow. A lot of times the police department will call us and they have a car left side of the road, public property, and they'll need it removed. That's an improperly parked car. A non-consensual tow would be, for instance, Mr. Lewis, if you own some property here in town, and let's say Mr. Riggs left a car in your front yard, and you came home and just basically wanted it removed, that's a non-consensual tow, which is regulated by the state. So we had some different fees. I went into that meeting with a couple of different fees, a couple of different options that I was looking at. And Mr. Rob Ryan made the statement that he would like to see one fee for everything that we do in the city, whether it's a DUI tow, whether it's a wreck, or whether it's a non-consensual tow. So I've got some fees here that we came up with, myself and the police department, and we've discussed these, we've agreed on these, and I was told the next step was to bring it before you guys. So that's what I'm here for today. I do have a copy of these if you guys would like to see them, if I can hand them to you. Take just a moment and look over that. I'd be glad to answer any questions that you might have. I know also that in the past years, I think it started in '08 when the city council decided to regulate the fees that we were allowed to charge. And that was a necessary step because I know that some record services in town were gouging the public, for a lack of a better phrase. So it is a good thing that we're regulated. It keeps us all in line. There is somebody we have to answer to, and so that's a good thing. I think this proposal that is in front of you is a win-win for all of us. These fees, and I'll go over them, the private property or non-consensual tows are $150. That is what the state of Georgia allows us to charge now. That was changed this past year. They saw a reason for an increase from $125. The storage after the first 24 hours, this is also regulated by the state, is $15. Now the drop fee, Mr. Lewis, I mentioned if you had Mr. Riggs' car in your front yard, and if I was there towing that car, Mr. Riggs showed up with his keys and he had $60 cash on him, we'd let him drive it away. That's what the drop fee is. And again, that is also regulated by the state. The state says that we can legally charge $75, so that's a little bit below that. Now we'll get down to the on-call record detail for the city of Statesboro. Impounds, wrecks will be $150, that's day or night. And then storage, again, at $15. And again, that's with Rob Bryan's input on having one fee. So we're trying to get everything with, if it's a tow, any kind of tow in the city of Statesboro, it's $150. If it deals with keeping the car for more than 24 hours, whether it's a non-consensual, whether it's for the police department, whatever the case may be, again, it's one fee for $15. There is one other fee on that. That's an after-hours gate fee. My office is open Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. From 8 to 5, you can, Miss James, you can come to my office and you can pick up your car. If you call me tonight at 9 and want to pick up your car, the state of Georgia says I can actually charge you extra $50. And we're not asking for that. We're asking for $25. And that is after hours. Okay. Now my hours may be different than some of the different towing companies in town, depending on their business. But that's what those fees are about. And again, that is exactly half of what the state says we charge. Any questions?
When does it come back up to be reviewed out, and do you know?
Well, I mean, we adopt the fee every June. I don't think you could change it or amend it. We have to go through
We adopted the resolution.
We adopt a fee schedule just like we do water and natural gas, do we not?
But I mean, what's the format that it's in?
Well, Senator Ryan brought me an ordinance to possibly amend the ordinance, and we was having me look at that, and we were presenting some fees to look at, amend the ordinance, and adopt the new set of fees, if that's what you want to do.
Okay, so when were we thinking about bringing the ordinance forward? Have you, anybody thought about that?
Mayor,
Yes.
the resolution on the fees will be sent up open for the next council meeting.
Okay.
Any draft or ordinance proposal will come later. We do want to do a lot of input with that and some research that before we make such a proposal.
Okay. So we can put, you're going to send that up, you said,
Yes, ma'am.
for next meeting? Okay. So we'll have a discussion and look at that for the next meeting as to what's next.
Any questions for me?
The only thing, Tracy,
Yes, sir.
the after-hours gate fee.
Yes, sir.
So tell us, I guess, is there a set time or amount of time the record has to be open?
Are you talking about the non-consensual or just what we do for the police department or as
I
in
don't know,
general?
I guess
Your
Okay.
The
gate,
non-consensual.
how long is your gate?
All right. I'll give you my business for instance. Again, we're open from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. Non-consensual tows or police department tows, I do meet people at on Saturday and Sunday at 12:30 and at 5:30, 2 different times. So if your car gets towed in the middle of the night, say Friday night, You are available to pick it up at 12:30 or 5:30 on Saturday or Sunday at no additional charge. Now, if you have to have it at midnight, I'll be glad to come down to the office and meet you there. That is not my normal business hours. The state of Georgia does say that we have to have normal business hours. They do not say what those are.
I believe our ordinance says that you have to be able to get your car out at any time.
Yes, ma'am. That's another thing that, it's kind of like your water bill. We all have a water bill, but we have hours that we can pay our water bill. Now, if I call the water department and ask them to meet me down here at midnight so I can pay my water bill, I don't think that'd go over too well. So that's just what we're asking now. And again, that is regulated by the state. Thank you for your time.
And by the way, your driver did a very good job of getting my child's car out of the ditch and my husband's truck unstuck. We called and my child had been into the ditch on the dirt road, and it seemed at the time like a good idea to take a rope and try to pull her out of the ditch. And in doing so, my husband's truck slid into some mud. And then when we tried to push it out, it hit a tree. And so A&P sent Jam Up, tow truck driver out there. He scratched his head. This was so bad. And he said, "Now, how did y'all do this?" And we just said, "We just really don't want to discuss it. We just don't have a good answer for you." And so he got us both out. So AAA didn't charge us anything, but it's $2,000 damage to my husband's truck. So you just gotta love your teenager. Okay.
You're having quite the spring.
Whoa, wait,
Yeah, we are.
wait, you blame the teenager. She didn't wreck the truck.
Well, she got us out there to begin with.
Okay.
Okay? Just gotta love you at 18 all day long. All right, not that we digress, but I did want to thank you. Agenda item 5, I would ask council to consideration motion to approve the consent agenda. If someone, y'all will look at the minutes, and then I can have a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as printed. So moved, Madam Mayor.
Do we have any discussion? All in favor, please state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. I'm just looking at you out there. Jackie's laughing because he knows my children in their cars. All right. It's a bad situation. Agenda item 6, the second reading, consideration of a motion to approve ordinance 2015-04, which is an ordinance approving water and sewer billing, termination of service for non-payment, and billing adjustments. Mr. Chisholm.
Thank you, Mayor. If y'all will notice, this is the second reading. We discussed this at the last council meeting. The purpose of this section, or this change, this ordinance, is to provide for the procedures for the adjustment of water and sewer bills. All exemptions or adjustments to water and sewer bills shall be made pursuant to these administrative procedures. And we have some policies in place already, but I sat down with staff from several different departments, and we met a total of 8 times, and it seems like a lot, but there's a lot to this ordinance. It's not as easy to write as you think it is. And as you see, we still kept it reasonably short. I think 3.5 pages. And this primarily has to do with adjusting water sewer bills that had a leak is either found or thought to be present. But it also had a little bit of language on, I'm going to read these 3 particular items under miscellaneous. No employee of the city of Statesboro, a member of the employee's household or immediate family shall be granted exemption or adjustment as provided above in the water sewer bill without the written consent of the city manager. So it puts in some procedures for handling those, but also under 1.7.2, no appointed official of the city of Statesboro, city manager, city clerk, city attorney, city municipal court judge, or a member of the appointed official's household or immediate family should be granted an exemption or adjustment as provided above to their water sewer bill without the written consent of the mayor. And then no elected official of the city of Statesboro, a member of the elected official's household or immediate family shall be granted an exemption or adjustment as provided above to the water sewer bill without the written consent of 2 other elected officials. I just think it puts some policies in place that helps give staff some guidance. And the rest of it gets into more of the specifics of particular leaks on whether you take it off of the water or you take it off of the sewer, how do you make adjustments based on so many months, previous 3 months on average. And I think it's a good ordinance as we've written, and I appreciate those departments that helped me put it together.
Robert, I had expressed some concerns to you and the mayor both about having language in there about specifically the city clerk as it relates to billing.
Right.
Not so much, I mean, we all understand and we all know that Ms. Sue is in charge of billing as well as being the city clerk, so in many respects she serves a dual role.
Right.
Serves two boxes in the organizational tree, as you will. How do we intend, let's just say, at some point, maybe 10, 15 years down the road, Ms. Sue, you might retire, maybe 20. At some point, she's going to vacate that position, and I would imagine possibly reshuffling of duties or something along those lines. In that particular case, what would we do with this ordinance, since it's written specifically for the city clerk?
I discussed that with the city attorney, and we can go in there and tweak it and amend it very easy. And what you're saying is a good point, and every time, I usually use it as a time when somebody retires. I've used it in public works several times. When somebody retires, it's a good time to look and see if its duties have changed enough to either add or subtract or shift around, and that would be probably the proper time.
Could you just, Phil, could you just say the appointed designee
We talked about that.
and just understand who the appointed designee is?
Well, if you look at how this, there's an ordinance that talks about the attachment A.
Right.
Attachment A is the document that represents the city clerk. If you look at the ordinance itself, there's no ordinance amendment necessary to make the changes council ordinance. It says,
Except it says the water and sewer billing procedure shall be administered by the city clerk, which is in section D. And,
or designated.
right. So that means, you know, in the future, even if the billing person wasn't the city clerk would designate who that person was, which would be out of the organizational chain.
So we could amend the ordinance if and when the billing issues is taken out of the city clerk's. But right now, it's there.
Is there not a billing clerk? What is the title that that the person in charge of this currently has?
There is a billing clerk, but most, it's kind of the city engineer, for example, is reflected, or the water sewer director is reflected in a lot of places, and although their designee may actually handle some of those issues, they're ultimately responsible. He typically is that top person that's ultimately responsible, even though they may designate somebody. And in this case, I think Sue would admit that her and the clerk probably both see those adjustment requests, and if the clerk comes to her on some instances. Would you agree? I don't think it'll be that hard to change down the road if we choose to modify the departments themselves and divisions.
Because I think what I'm hearing you say is that the way that it's worded needs to be that way this time, because that's where the buck stops.
That's my opinion.
The person who's a billing clerk is under the city.
That is how the tree is set up now.
Yes.
If the billing clerk is under the city.
Which is my understanding. They're not their own department, they're a billing department.
That's right.
It falls under the city clerk. So right now, it's only administered by the city clerk or her designee in the city. So billing clerk or my designee, and questionable things in the billing clerk, there's questions of evolution that's also considered.
Well, again, this is just a byproduct of the city's growth, the administration growing. So, I mean, I'm not pinning this on any one person one way or the other. It just seems to me that at some point we're going to have to decouple, you know, the clerk is a different position from billing. Even if it's the same person, they're two separate positions.
I kind of agree with you, Robert, that if once the structure is redone as to how you want it, you can go back and figure out who will be the ultimate person responsible. They may not come under the city clerk. They may come under another management capacity. the city manager directly, with appointed designee or something like that.
Well, why not change it to city manager or his designee, his or her designee? And then when you just designate the suit?
Yeah, I would designate anybody but me. I might designate you.
You take enough for the team? Is that what you're saying?
So we can leave it as is, and when we change it, we can change it. When the position changes, we change it.
Could be my suggestion at this point. We can avoid a meeting.
Do you have any other discussion on the ordinance? I know how much y'all read. You looked at every single, I would call Robert, he's in there talking about the water ordinance. It's like, oh my gosh. So, I mean, I just want to say, I know how much time you spent. I appreciate that.
And I realize that's why there's smiles around the room. You're like, are we making one more change to this thing? I understand that. All members of the committee are over there just going, oh, good Lord. So we appreciate all the work you put into it. I know you put a lot.
Thank you.
Motion to approve?
Okay, do I have a motion to approve ordinance 2015-04 as written?
Yes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you for all your work. All right, agenda item 7 is a public hearing and consideration of a motion to approve application RZ 15-0304. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing on this application?
So moved.
That's it, okay. Any discussion? All in favor, please state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so public hearing is open. This public hearing is regarding a request for a zoning map amendment for .81 acres of property located at 335 Proctor Street from split zoning of commercial retail, single-family residential to commercial retail. I'm going to ask Mandy to please present that item to council.
Thank you, Mayor. As you stated, this property is located at 335 Proctor Street, which is the corner of Proctor Street and Morris Street. It is split zone commercial retail and single-family residential. It is my understanding that a number of years ago, in addition to the home that's currently located on the property, there was also a funeral home on the site, and that establishment was destroyed by fire and has remained, the remainder of the property has remained undeveloped since that time. Property owners are in the funeral home business and have come back to us and submitted this rezoning application asking for permission to construct a funeral home there at the site. We have visited this application through a Right Start meeting that they participated in and have put forward to you a recommendation that would draw inspiration, if you will, from the design standards in and around our downtown area. We took this to Planning Commission last week for consideration by that advisory body, and at that time, several people, 5 or 6 people, maybe a few more, spoke from the area in opposition to the particular request. And a petition was also delivered to us in opposition to the request, and we copied that and included that in your agenda packets for you this evening. There was no one present at the Planning Commission meeting on behalf of the applicant to speak. So given the opposition in the room and the concerns that were raised by that, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to deny the application's request for rezone.
Okay, do we have anyone here that has come to speak in support? Could you please come forward and tell us your name?
Good afternoon. I am Jarvis Robinetta Barnes, owner of 335 Proctor Street. First of all, I would like to apologize for missing the planning meeting. I actually got the city council meeting confused with the planning meeting because I thought I went to planning with the Right Start. So I didn't realize that I was supposed to be at that meeting. I thought the only meeting I needed to attend was this one. I would like to build a state-of-the-art facility at 335 Proctor Street. For one, I own the land. or 2, it was already a funeral home there. As you can look at the map to my right, you can see that half of the land is already zoned commercial. I would just like to expand it so that the rest of the land could be zoned, commercial. I actually have a petition as well that I would like to present to you. As you will see, this petition does include 69 names. All of them, well, for the exception of maybe 2, they all live on the Morris Street, Fall Street, Statesboro Point, Lynn Tenor address.
So Mandy, it looks like the actual staff had no objection, that it came with a number of conditions.
Yes, ma'am.
And what was the main reason for all the conditions that you imposed?
This area is in proximity to our commercial areas downtown. It's right off of West Main Street. The understanding that staff and I have taken from comments from the council and planning commission is there's been a desire to have some conditions placed on redevelopment, rezones, and variances, particularly in areas like sidewalk installation, traffic calming, landscaping, nicer exteriors, things of that nature. So we try to give you what you've asked for in some previous cases as we've moved forward. It was just response to that request, ma'am.
And Ms. Barnes, what do you think about all of these conditions that were placed?
I think they're doable.
Does council have questions for Ms. Barnes for ask for those folks that might be here in opposition?
Ms. Barnes, what is the plan for the picture we have as the house, the structure that was on it? This picture we have says foundation of previous, the yellowish house, foundation of original funeral home that was lost to the fire. What's the plan for that structure?
I would actually like to eventually tear that down and make that additional parking.
Is that currently being used?
It is currently being used, and the first person on your list of my petition is the resident that is there.
Your father's James R. Bond, isn't that right?
Yes, he is.
How long has the Bond family been in business in Statesboro?
We've been in business over 50 years.
Over 50 years, is that right?
Yes.
And your mother, Jarvis,
Yes.
she taught,
At Ogeechee Tech.
what did she teach?
She taught funeral service.
Funeral service, mortuary science.
Yes. As well as my dad helped every single person in funeral business get in business.
Every funeral home in this city right now
Came from him.
is an offering to of your family,
Yes.
of your family,
Yes.
except one. That's the one that's opposed, or the he would talk to, or the other last funeral home that was you.
Who?
Robinson funeral home, did they come on your father?
It's not in existence. They stay in Statesboro Point. It's not in existence. Maybe they can tell you why, maybe you even know why.
Well, the reason I asked that question because I don't see Craig Trimmer here, I don't see Maurice here to oppose this.
I actually asked Reverend Trimble last week, did he have my blessings? He said yes.
Let me ask you another question. Did he ask you to come work for him?
Yes, he did.
I guess that the question would be, Councilman Lewis, I don't know that there's an opposition to another funeral home. There may just be an opposition to the location.
I don't get that in there.
Right, I understand.
I understand, I want to get that in for the record.
Okay. So, if you'll hang on, because you may have some questions to answer, if you don't mind, just have a seat up front. And we'll see, do we have anybody here that opposes?
Yes.
Okay. Please come forward. If you don't mind, when you speak, just state your name and where you live.
My name is Carrie Roberts. I live on 311 Lake Tenor Court.
Okay.
And I originally signed a petition because I didn't really understand, but when she asked me to sign it, because she was saying a young black person is trying to start their business, and I was, supporting that. But not reality sucked in where that it's so close to my home and it could be so congested that I realized that I won't want that, because I have an 8-year-old in the second grade, and that'd be more traffic and congested for him. And also, maybe about a month ago, I was at Proctor and Morris, that stop sign, and a young guy came in, turned too close and hit me. And my front of my car now, the bumper's down because the area is so tight and congested that he was a college student, and that was in the morning time. I was taking my son to school. So I don't want that. I think it'd be unsafe. That area would be too congested for a funeral home for like my son to play around that area and everything, because it'd be more human watching. We have a lot of kids in the area. They can play freely with no problems. If you have more traffic and more congested, especially in the funeral service, they can't play, or they take their homely environment away from them.
Do I understand that you actually signed this one?
I signed that one. My name is Carrie Roberts, but I signed it to support her as a black business. I didn't realize it would be right there so close to my home estate.
And you live next door, you said?
311 and 10 on the court, yes,
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Right, I guess it'll be right kind of from the front.
Okay. All right, did someone else want to speak?
My name is,
Before she sat down, so just talking to houses that face Proctor, you live in one of the houses that face Proctor, not the one in the court, or yours?
in the court.
You're on the cul-de-sac?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Brenda Johnson. I live in Statesboro Point.
Yes, ma'am.
And I oppose it because people already traffic the cul-de-sac, and they come through there really fast. And it's really congested since the school came there. And to me, it'll have to be a lot of improvements made there as far as the size of the street and everything. And I'm understanding my brother-in-law, he signed that petition also, but he told me that he didn't understand why, he was asked to sign it. He doesn't even live in the vicinity. And he said that a lot of people were signing it and they didn't really understand the petition, but they were signing because she was going to be a black business owner. And a lot of people didn't know about the funeral home coming there. And my nieces and nephews live there. They frequent Proctor Street, going to their friends' houses, and it's really congested there. And a lot of times their mom is concerned about them, going there. And my mother, she lives on South 4th Street. She couldn't attend the meeting today, but she's in opposition with it also, because my nieces and nephews already want to go over there, cross over to get to her house, but they're not able to because of the heavy traffic now. And it's really congested over there already.
Do I have anybody that would like to speak for? Anybody that'd like to speak for that hasn't spoken yet?
I'm sorry, Gary.
No, that's okay. We've had 2 against, so I kind of want to eat it up a little bit if y'all hang on.
I don't, my name is Ann Hester, and I live on Proctor Street, which
Yes, ma'am.
they get my apartment, my house number, and Robin's house confused. Because I'm on 325, and she's on 335. So I was asked, yesterday, I was asked to be here, but I didn't understand, and I still don't kind of understand, because I hear what my neighbors are saying. It's already congested, but that should be an issue that should be brought before you all saying that we need some type of construction. Because, you know, the GP Bryant coming there, the school, the traffic, everything is hectic. But at the same time, again, I don't know the full details. I haven't seen everything, so I'm not for nor against it. Because if we already have problems, we have problems before that even zoning could even take place. Now, my question would be is, if we're already in one zone, and if this takes place, it will rezone us, correct?
It won't rezone you, it's just gonna rezone a part of that one parcel.
Okay, so me being on
Won't
Proctor
affect
Street
your-
won't affect me.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Manny, can you pull up that map with the blue on it? And let everybody kind of see exactly. Oh, it's just zooming on.
Whoever said that can drive. If I touch it, it tears up. We all know that. I don't touch it.
And maybe if somebody wants to, if somebody would like to explain so that everybody at least knows exactly what area it is and what they're doing, maybe that would help a little bit.
Yeah, and show the orientation of the building, where it's going to face. Yeah, would you do that, please, Ms. Barnes?
It's a 50-50 chance we have a corner here. So we'll find out. Never mind, it's 0 today.
So,
And then we're here from blue area. This is Proctor Street and this is Martin Street, yes. This area here is already zoned commercial. And I wanted to make the front of Martin Street be zoned commercial so that the funeral home can actually face Martin Street.
Face that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because as it is right now, if this was not to take place, then the funeral home would have to go here because it's already zoned this way. It's not like.
So we'll have to face the street that I'm on facing property. But you're trying to get it on facing
Mars.
and one of the things is because if you left it commercial and didn't rezone it and you built it on that front piece you're talking about, Ms. Barnes, it'd have to empty out into Mars. I mean, excuse me, into Proctor, because you couldn't empty a commercial out into the neighborhood street, so it would change where cars would come in and out of there.
And my goal is to empty out onto West Main.
How do you intend to do that?
With the parking lot here, and the funeral home there.
And so they'll be coming off West Main and Proctor to park.
That's what we talked about at Rice Road.
Was that a condition? I don't think so.
No, ma'am, it's not a condition. It's a regulation, a standing regulation or ordinance that a commercial use cannot take.
And onto a neighborhood street, so it would have to empty into West Main.
Yes.
Okay. And what's the piece?
Well, okay, it from West Main, isn't that Proctor Street that runs on the south side of that property?
West Main.
The intersection.
Well, I know, but the intersection is past that property, you might be able to help out on West Main.
Her property line is the dark black line, Justin. It's the blue patch is the part that needs to be rezoned.
It's like her, where she's on Proctor is right at that stop sign that goes right into Main, into West Main, and it's right there. And again, for me, that's why I say I'm not opposing and I'm not for it, because I understand it now, but the facts that remain is we already have bad traffic, and it needs to be widened. And that's why I say I'm not against it, because I understand if those things can be met with already an issue that we have, then why not do it? But I know some things have to take place because of that traffic being heavy and the road has been narrow on Proctor coming into West Main. It is narrow, but again, I just think there's some things that the whole outlook needs to be looked at about.
Ma'am, if I may, to this lady's particular point, that was one of the reasons, honestly, that we didn't object to zoning the entirety have an objection was because some commercial uses have more intensity in their use than other commercial uses do, obviously. And since part of that parcel is already zoned commercial retail, there's not a cap on the intensity or the level of use that I would be able to permit at that site as it is today. A funeral home is one of the lower intensity commercial uses that we have, and although not necessarily ideal in a residential area, it certainly seemed to be a good compromise between what could be a higher level of commercial use in that area and the residential that was nearby. Since they both have a point, I'm not taking sides here, so that was something that we looked at as well in our review of the case.
That commercial rezone would go fairly deep into residential.
It would, in about, you all that live in the neighborhood, correct me if I'm wrong, but about 3 or 4 lots down on Moore Street, there's a church of similar size. So there's some neighborhood type uses like that in that general vicinity that can have an intense use at times, and then but are not often used. Have limited use to them. Intense when they are used, but then they back off the rest of the time. Like a church is going to have a service a couple times a week, and the rest of the time, the parking lot's going to be empty and the traffic's not going to be there. We evaluated a funeral home along the same lines that we would a church.
Okay. And I have a couple of ladies that want to speak. Yes, ma'am. Your name, please.
My name is Aretha Robertson. I'm a resident of 308 Lantana Court. And my main concern was like with the traffic flow, and if, who would be responsible for redoing the streets, whether it be up to the applicant or the city official, or in how many parking spaces will, you have at this facility. Because, I'm down there, I don't want anyone parking on my property, And then just a elderly lady on the end, that grandson is handicapped, and they didn't want to attend to, if they have a large funeral or anything, that the EMS or whatever, it would take time, to get there if, the streets are overflowing and everything. And mainly it was like the traffic issue with, lots of resident concerns, congestion, and where there be, street sidewalks and everything, traffic lights or whatever, because I, almost had several wrecks turning from West Main to Proctor to Moore. And just like today, a car was out, in the middle of the road, and I could barely turn in to get to my residence.
Okay. Was there someone else? I think one other person came up to speak.
If for a funeral home like that, what is your proposed parking amount?
Okay, Ms. Barnes, how many parking spots were you proposing?
At this time, 30 until the yellow house can be torn down.
Can I get your name, please, ma'am?
Oh,
No, that's okay.
I'm Annie Bellington. I live at 134 Morris Street.
Okay,
I was
I
here
appreciate
around, so I just forgot.
So that's fine. So 32, you think? Okay.
Okay. Usually funerals carries more than that. Where are those other people going to park? Is they going to park on the property? Is they going to park side the road? Because if they park side the road, just like we say, that's going to be a blockage, and it's going to be able to get in and out. There's ill people down on Lynn Tanner Circle there. Where are these other people going to park?
I will say, yes, you are correct that funerals tend to be bigger than that. But if they are bigger than that, they are held at a church, not at the funeral home, which is located somewhere else.
We're not speaking of the funeral itself. We're speaking of the ways.
Well, when you have visitation, people are in and out. It's not a lot of sitting and staying.
Well, over at the other funeral homes, they
I can't speak for those.
overflow. With people all outside the roads. They look all on other people's property. that's a big issue with the other funeral homes. And they are further out, cluttered up neighborhoods, like the Packer House Road, they got a lot of property over there, but they park on both sides of the road sometimes.
What would be, if you did, I'm just asking, I don't know, but if you did have overflow, where would it go? If you needed more spots, where would you think it would go? These farms, I don't know.
There is a vacant lot right next to where we are, which is
Do you own the lot?
commercial. They can park there.
Do you own that lot?
I can get permission.
And if you would decide to widen the streets or anything like that, what would happen to our property? Because you would have to go on our property to widen the streets or anything like that.
Well, I can tell you right now, there's no plan. Our budget says no to widen any streets. Widen any streets, so I don't think that's a big concern. I understand why you're concerned, but that's not a plan. Does council have any questions for this person in opposition?
I mean, we usually talk about the property right there, right down the street, 200 yards down the street. You got Craig Trimble, folks out on the street and everything. Nobody discussed that. Right around the corner, you got Jimmy Bond. The only funeral home you got on Packer House Road is Maurice Hill. The rest of it is right behind and a little radius there. So you know what we're talking about. I just can understand what's the problem here today. I mean, this parking, it's just been speed up and down Market Street. I live right across the street from where she opened the building. I called the police there. I mean, it's been going on. This funeral not going to create that. It's already created. I mean, it's no sitting there, put the cart ahead of the horse, and it's already there.
But our concern is that it's creating more traffic, and also a lot of residents were concerned about if they put the funeral home there, they were really concerned about their property taxes going up. They had a lot of concerns. It wasn't just about the traffic. And, you know, they were just as concerned. A lot of them couldn't be here today, but they are just as concerned. It's not about the traffic, because the traffic is already there. And when the school came, they created more traffic.
And now when the funeral home comes, it's going to create more traffic. Then this church says it's going to create more traffic.
Well, the city growing traffic going to create as we live every day.
Yes, but we have children there that we are concerned about. They already come down in the cul-de-sac. People that doesn't live there, they drive really fast. I've had to call the police several times about the trafficking just in the cul-de-sac.
But the funeral home is never open.
People are going to turn down in the cul-de-sac.
The people out there every day at the funeral home. I have funerals every day.
But not every day.
Here's what I can't
I live there. I
do too.
Here's what I can't understand. Why do we need another funeral home? That'd be...
Because it's their right to have that. They have a right. They have a right. Nobody asked you. Hold up.
I got one Gary around. Why do we need another one? And more especially...
That question is irrelevant. Nobody asked y'all when y'all looked up a funeral home. That was Robinson funeral home.
Okay, well, second you're speaking.
Well, Robinson, nobody questioned
That's not being concerned today.
And it was in the country. And they had adequate parking. They didn't have to tear up in the streets or anything.
And as we see every day, you can go ahead.
No, I was just going to let this man in the back who stood up so patiently to see if he would like to come up and say something.
Good evening. I'm Reverend Donald Logan.
Yes, sir.
And I live at 131 Morris Street, right next door to the church. When they have their convocations, it's almost large as a school amount of parking there. In 1976, I was in a civic discussion, and I made the statement that if anything is built in Statesboro, they'd have to use a bulldozer. So I believe, I confess that I'm just recently knowledgeable about this transaction, but I feel that with the changing of the zoning and with the business, and I believe there's a marketing business across the street that also has large spaces, that this would bring about an improvement in the situation. I've lived in that residence for over almost 15 years. And also the former or the current Barnes Funeral Home is also in a residential district, and it's in a smaller area and a more congested and more residential area than this proposal unit is. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. I think at this point in time, I'm going to ask y'all to have a seat if that's okay. If you have any questions. Before closing the public hearing, do I have anybody that has not spoken that would like to speak? Okay, do I have any questions from council for anyone that has spoken about this rezone?
I'd like to know the orientation of the building. Is it will be facing south, Proctor and West Main Street?
It's going to face Morris.
It will face Morris Street, yeah. And ingress and egress will all be on Morris Street. Or
No, it can't be on Morris.
It has to be from West Main Street.
That's where my concern lies. I'm looking at this intersection, and I realize, I guess what she's gonna do is she's gonna take that residential property, which is this hatched property that we're talking about right now, yes, ma'am?
Yes.
That's currently residential, and there's a property basically to the west of it. That's an odd L shape, that's commercial, and she's gonna combine those two to create this.
So they're currently one lot, and the lot is split thus with the consistent zoning across the lot, so it should be utilize the entirety of the parcel.
But as I look at where the edge of that second commercial property is, or the commercial property to the left, it barely lines up with that intersection. And that intersection is, West Main, there's no stopping. West Main, you just zip right by. So what are we gonna do with that intersection so that they can turn off of quote unquote West Main? To me, it looks like their only access would be, to turn off West Main onto Proctor and into their property, which to me is gonna, I don't know if that, Wendell, that seems like that would be a traffic issue, but that certainly, to me, it looks like you're gonna have to be on West Main, turn on the Proctor and then into, that's right where a stop sign is.
All of those sorts of issues are things that our city engineers look at during the permitting processes. We talked about it a little bit at the right start meeting, as we always do. If you all want to avoid the rezone and have egress off Moore Street, and that would be a variance that you would need to include in your motion tonight, because generally, as the mayor pointed out, the ordinance forbids that. So thus far, we've only talked about arranging something for her to take access from the west bank. That's a difficult intersection, I'm not arguing that. Other than telling you we would do our best we could in a permitting stage, I don't have a good answer.
Because it would come out right where those two merge. People fly through that stop sign, or you don't even know what it is, it's a stop.
Yeah, her access would essentially be between the stop sign and where West Main is, that little stretch right there. And that seems to me an incredibly bad place to put an entryway.
Let me ask you this, man,
And she's gonna leave the house too?
can the variance be granted for them to come out of Morris Street?
Can a variance be granted?
Yeah.
Yes, sir, if you all choose to do that, you can.
Okay.
I guess I don't think that's a good idea.
Only for that, I mean, maybe you don't, but I do.
All right. It seems the concern is clearly about traffic and about with the turning on, turning off, and people that are in the court nearby obviously have a concern. If the building is facing Morris, everything goes back to the direction. And one of the issues we have is that residence. You look, that's map. I pulled up another map, and there's another. Looking at it, I was under the impression about where the S was the structure map. That's not correct. That's the old foundation. So there's a house, and so it's, I'm not saying it's flagpole zoning, but it's kind of, because we're leaving a residential house in a commercial lot so that we can build a commercial lot behind a residential house.
And surrounding it with
Well, if you see the lot immediately next, there are commercial lots. The lot next to it is commercial. There's some lots across the street. There's also some residential.
But I'm just saying it's what we're using it for. And so I guess, Ms. Barnes, one of the questions why I asked the question I did, I think this works a lot better for you and definitely for us if that house is part of your business, not house that someone's living in. It needs to either be a parking lot or the structure.
I said I wanted to tear it down.
I know, but
You're gonna tear down the
you
house?
said you wanted to. You didn't say,
We will.
we're gonna tear it down
We
so that
will.
we can do that.
We will tear down the house to make a parking
I
lot.
think when you tear that house down, now you can, now where the building is facing can change, the parking lot can change, and all the terms change. And I think it addresses, most of the concerns that the neighborhood had about where, and the other thing is that we didn't really bring up, you can build, unless I'm wrong, Mandy, she can tear that house down today and build a funeral home on it today and not come before us for any reason.
That's right, as long as she stays for the commercial use on the part of the property.
I don't know if you have enough property to do that, because once you reorient it, you're gonna need.
And that exactly, Mayor, was the issue when she first came to see us about this, was how much of that property do you need or want to utilize in a commercial fashion, and are you gonna be able to stay just on the parts that are currently zoned commercial? And she needed more property than was zoned for that particular use. So, and you never, it's never a good idea for us as a city to have split zone parcels anyway. So from her perspective and ours, we needed to clean that up.
Jason, since we mentioned engineering, or Robert, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, that's already a bad intersection.
This situation would be better to come out on, probably would be better to come out on Concord than West Concord.
Go further down.
Directly through the intersection.
But then you're right there at the corner of Moore Street. I mean, the frontage you've only got. Huh?
Can we come out
If
on?
she tear the house down, what I'm trying to say, she can come out on Proper Street with a variance. The house is gone.
You don't need a variance to
You don't need no variance at all, what I'm saying, so why we trying to figure it out is, we talk, man, you can see that. She tear the house down, and it's good to go.
You just never know what you're gonna, the little nuggets that you can pick up on.
With the right configuration, you can do it.
So, okay, back up, Jason, with the right configuration, you said it could be doable to come out on Proctor, correct? Possibly.
What's the
Now tell me
distance
what-
from Proctor Street to West Main? Like, what is that?
You mean
maybe
Mars to West
50
Main?
Yeah, 50 feet?
Morris West Main, no, it's different. It's a yard and half a house.
No, that's a very skinny lot. That's only 0.8 acres, and this is 0.6, and it's a flag. That's not more than 60, 70 feet. Maybe you guys know that area? I don't know.
We can measure.
I believe her property runs from Lawrence Street, would be considered the intersection with.
That's right. But that's how far is it? That can't be more than 60, 80 feet.
Oh, my God.
What are you doing?
He's doing the scale.
The old map thing?
Like 125 feet. That's the turn of the west, to the turn of West Main. in the corner.
That's
According to the scale done by Dean. But it's too long. Unless you want to go back. I guess
Let me ask you this, what makes Proctor a street that isn't considered a neighborhood street and therefore would not need a variance to come out?
And that, the ordinance says it has to be significantly and primarily applicable to the action that's used every single day. And there's commercial property that already takes access from Proctor, but it's on both sides.
On both sides?
Okay.
Yeah, that wedge, for example.
Right, I wanted to clarify that, because there are a lot of houses on Proctor. I mean, it's not a main commercial thoroughfare.
I mean, it's over, it's considered a mixed use area, it's not commercially residential.
Okay. So there wouldn't be any issue with coming out on Proctor. It's just a question of can you design something that would be safe to come out on Proctor? Because I just heard somebody who got hit by the college student. Okay, just want to make sure. Whipping around the corner, just, okay.
just quite often neighborhoods, when there is something that's zoned commercial, the idea is we don't want anything there. And that's true. We just had that the other day where somebody didn't want a commercial property across the neighborhoods. It makes sense. This is already commercial. So Ms. Barnes has the right to develop something commercial there. So the question is, what do you want commercial there? Do you want a funeral home? Or do you want a convenience store?
No.
Or do you want a McDonald's? Or do you want, a tattoo? I'm saying we can name all the things that could go there, and she can settle and walk away because it's zoned commercial. And as long as it meets with the qualifications for what Mandy says you have to have for that, that's what it becomes. So it seems to me a funeral home fits a neighborhood a little better than some of the other commercial opportunities. I hope the business is well, but I hope you don't do a good business. You know what I mean? I hope people don't show up. But, you know what I mean? So there's just not a lot of traffic into funeral homes the way out, unless I'm wrong.
So if you went back and agreed to tear the house down,
I will tear the house down.
and provide enough parking by tearing the house down, how many more parking spots would that give you?
I would say at least 50. I mean, it's pretty deep.
Okay, so that would give you a total of 50 parking spots if you were to tear the house down.
I would say it's over 80.
80 parking spots. So then it'd be a function of figuring out where to come off the property onto Proctor. I said it would be a function of where to come out off of your property onto Proctor.
Yes.
But the orientation of the building would still be facing south towards Proctor Street.
No, towards Morris.
No, towards Morris.
I'm sorry.
Toward Morris.
I got no problem with Gary, I got no problem with the commercial.
I'm hearing about Proctor Street, but I said if we give up here to come out on Morris Street, that'll take care of all that.
Yeah, I think it's
Now, is the building gonna be facing Morris? The front, we let them come out. Let's give up variance. That's that simple. You keep talking about Proctor Street the way it's made, that don't make any sense.
I guess Robert and Jason, obviously it's not a simple engineering design to do that, right? And it's not a curve and go. I know you get to be nice, you get to have city manager title now, but you used to have engineering title kind of thing, so I'm asking, I mean, it seems to me that Ms. Barnes could get into this and find out that that was something that wasn't feasible.
She can't present, she can't present a site plan that we're comfortable with. We're just not going to. So she may get a case tonight, and she can't have a site plan that's safe. Then we're just not going to approve that site.
Right. We look at radius, we look at distance from other intersections, and we've got some basic standards that we can look at.
Well, what is that standard for distance to an intersection?
65 feet. 65 feet from the center of a driveway, what our standard is.
That's what, and we've got 120 feet to work with.
The good thing is there are stopping again at the May, you're slowing.
I mean, so you're literally, that driveway would dump out right at the stop sign.
Yeah, I mean, from the driveway standpoint, it actually works better on Mars.
That would need to be on Morris.
But I'm not saying to do that because
Well,
I'm
if you're
concerned
gonna-
about those buildings.
If Ms. Barnes wants it to go out on Morris, you're gonna have to come back in front. Because at that point, you're gonna have to ask for a variance to have it on Morris Street, and that is not listed in this particular motion that's on the agenda.
okay.
And just looking at it, Robert and Jason, the idea would be you put it almost directly across from the one that's there now, so that it's just, I'm just trying to think through it as well, so that way.
Remember, that's not a stopping intersection.
Right, but you went to Morris and you're at that court, you put it right in front of there, like a visual thing that you can.
People zip through there pretty good. No, I've done it.
So I guess the question would be, if we vote on this application that's denied this evening, then you would have to wait 6 months to come back and reapply. So if you want to come back, if you want to remove it from this evening and table it, and then come back with the variance to come out on Morris Street,
Well, she can still get the property rezoned. But that doesn't, but in this particular situation, she would not be able to put a driveway on Morris Street, is that correct?
okay. I mean,
And we can make it a condition to do, this is where Alvin gets me. So if we want a condition, I guess, if we're talking that, I guess there needs to be some sort of plan of how it comes out where the house is located. And even though we're rezoning it, it has to be passed. I guess we may not need to make another I don't know, I'm trying to talk through it. We were past the zoning.
You can rezone it subject
we
to
can rezone it.
engineering approving where the driveway goes out on Proctor. You can certainly do that.
So it could be subject to.
Engineering approval of where the driveway comes out.
We can rezone it, but that doesn't mean she can.
And if engineering doesn't come up with a good idea, she comes back to us with a variance to have it all yours.
To go on Water Street up to
Variance, you know,
I would like to see a better rendering of what the entire property would look like from the north end to the south end on West Main, where the cuts will be or proposed cuts, whether they come out on Moore Street or whether they come out on West Main Street. I mean, and there's not a plat like that on here.
well, she wouldn't draw those before she gets the thing redone.
Well, I know what I mean.
She's got the renderings of the building because she did a similar building in another location. So I think that's probably why, I would imagine that's why she didn't move forward getting the engineering on it because she wasn't rezoned. This building won't fit on her lot today unless you're rezoned. We think that makes sense. That's important.
And Ms. Barnes, the look of this is going to be similar to the one you have in Savannah?
Yes.
I mean, so it has a kind of a big house kind of look. It doesn't look like a commercial building necessarily.
Correct.
So the two things I'm hearing is the rezone subject to approval by engineering of the ingress egress into the lot off of Proctor,
I think that's a given, right?
and the house being torn down to provide 80 parking spaces roughly so that it would eliminate some neighborhood concerns about parking on the street. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
That makes sense. Does that all make sense, man? Are we going the wrong direction then?
It makes sense, although I haven't looked at it close enough to tell you she did 80 parking spaces.
But at least we know that area would be parking.
No, that I can reduce.
Not for the number in it?
Well, I mean, I just did that for kind of explanation point, but I would just say that it would be allotted, it would be made into parking in the house removed. Ms.
So
Barnes?
I guess the only condition that needs to be added is that connection of the house is removed.
Well, and that engineer would have to approve where the cut
I mean,
is.
again, I think that's a given.
Okay.
Well,
Right, you guys have to approve that.
well, wait a minute, can we get back into us approving that? I mean, obviously, it brings it back to us, but since the neighbors didn't meet with the engineers, the neighbors met with us. So we'd like to see, we'd like to almost come back and if that's something we want to do. I just don't know if we need to get into that, but if that's an issue, but. Because
Well, I think if they say that it is a safe cut into Proctor,
Right,
then at that point, it's a safe cut into Proctor.
right.
And even if we may have wanted it 10 feet this way or that way, I have a feeling it's going to be very limited as to where it can be. There's not going to be a lot of leeway there. So if we agree it's a safe cut into Proctor, they say it is, and it is.
And if it's not a safe cut, then you're saying that I have to come before you for a variance, or does engineering automatically go ahead and say that it's safer on Marsh Street?
No, you'd have to come for a variance because the ordinance would not allow that without a variance. So if you go to plot it and they say there's no way we can do this, I want to go on Morris Street, then they'd have to come back in front. You'd have to come back in front with a variance and ask council for approval to do that. Do you have any more discussion before I close the public hearing? Do I have a motion to close the public hearing to approve application RZ 150304?
So moved.
All right, first, second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now do I have a motion to approve application RZ 15-0304 with the stipulation that the house on the property will be torn down and that area be made into parking?
We'll just have just the house torn down. Do we need to specify that it's parking? Can't we put landscape?
Well, I think the concern of the neighbors was that there would be cars parked on the street, and if there were extra parking there, that would I know y'all don't like asphalt.
No, I was just implying that maybe enough parking would be, that it didn't have to be in that particular spot.
Be that way.
Yeah, I didn't want to specifically say that has to be no parking.
To increase parking, how about that?
To increase
As long as the house is gone,
parking.
yeah.
To increase parking.
We could call it overflow parking. It may not necessarily have to be
Paved. Okay. Do I have a motion?
Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
The other conditions that were recommended by staff, do you wish to include those in the motion or not, please?
Yes. I will make the motion and include those that were in.
So you want all staff recommendations to be included in the motion?
I'm just asking for clarity.
No, that's fine. Those are recommendations 1 through 14.
It seems as far as I'm okay with this.
Do I tear the house down and then ask for the variance, or do I ask for the variance and then tear out the order to go in?
I would
ask for the variance before I tore the house down.
Okay.
Because you want to make sure that you can get in and out of it before you start doing work, so.
Especially if you're getting rent.
Okay. Ms. Barnes, do you know all these staff recommendations that are in here?
Yes, I do.
Do you agree with them?
Yes.
Okay. So can I ask for a motion to approve application RZ 15-03-04 with staff recommendations included in that motion, and that the house be removed from the property to provide for some overflow parking capability on the property itself?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, do I have a motion to open a public hearing to approve application B1504-01?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please state by saying aye. Opposed? Public hearing is open for application B15-0401. I will ask Mandy to please introduce this rezone request.
Thank you, Mayor. This is actually a variance request for a rear yard setback for property located at 530 Fair Road, which is currently being utilized as a service station. The request is being filed by the Jones Company, who wishes to purchase the property and redevelop it as a convenience store. Due to the front yard setback, the depths required by the front yard setback by the Georgia Department of Transportation for fuel pumps and any structures that you enter onto the property, in this case it would be fuel pumps. That's pushing the structures on this property closer to the rear setback line than what is currently allowed by our zoning ordinance. Our city zoning ordinance requires a 25-foot setback from the rear. This application is asking for a variance to 10 feet from the rear property line. Again, we evaluated this through a right start with the entire development team and also through our planning commission. The planning commission did vote in support of the application and its request. However, they made several modifications to the staff suggested recommendations. For that, those recommendations again were taken from comments made previously by the council and really some inspiration from the design standards that are currently underway in their development for the South Main downtown area. Again, it goes to sidewalks and green space and things of that nature, building exteriors that the council has been expressing concern about, as well as taking down some non-conforming signage in that particular area. I'll be happy to go into any discussion that you want to have. We know the applicants are here tonight and they wish to speak to the council regarding this particular request.
I don't know, that was you.
Thank you, Mayor, Councilman. I am Steve Rushing, and I'm here for the applicant, which is the Jones Company, and it's also its real estate affiliate, which is Calford Holdings, and the operating company is Flash Foods. With me is Rebecca Thigpen, and she is the real estate coordinator, and our realtor here is also Todd Manette. And the current owners of the property are Jackie and Emily Stringer, who are also here and all, and of course in favor of this variance. And Mandy put it very well. How we got here really started in 1967, and I'm not going to carry the entire history, but that's when this lot was created. It's 150 foot deep, and it was created before we had a zoning ordinance. It was created before we had setbacks, and it was created before the GOT 1996 manual that created their setback. And that's how we got into this problem. It's just a lot that was there formed by Mr. Grady Johnson. In fact, it was formed before this, the center was there. It was the first thing that Grady Johnson cut out, this lot, sold it to the Standard Oil Company in 1967, and it has been used as a service station ever since. Jaffe for a good bit of that time, in fact. But Jaffe is, I think, ready to hand it over to the next guy, and that hopefully is the Flash Foods company, which would like to also use it as a gasoline station and convenience store. And but it is a lot that we're trying to put all that on, and from that was created a long time ago. And if we just use the city's front setback, which is 25 feet, I think we make it. But on the GDOT's front setback is more stringent, and it's a 45-foot setback for our first pylon for our pump station. And so that does, as many do, it pushes us back toward the back, and it's a safety reason why they have a greater setback, I think, than the city, and we understand that. But we think that the safety concerns are not as great in the back of the property, where we're seeking to have this setback varied from 25 feet. It was originally, we were seeking a 5 feet variance. That might have caused some confusion initially. The staff thought that maybe we should talk back to GDOT and see if we could relax their front a little bit. And we did that, and after some discussion with GDOT, we got them to relax 5 feet. So rather than 45, they're letting us go 40 feet for the front setback. So now we're asking for 10 feet setback on the rear. That will still allow, I think, the fire trucks in the lane back there to get to the rear of the property. As far as we know, we don't have any objection to us doing so. In fact, the rear of this property will start lining up more with the properties to the south. Those lots are 200 feet deep. 5 of them in a row, starting with Popeyes and toward the Food World. Those lots are 200 feet deep, and so those buildings are actually go further in depth. With this setback, our back of our building would pretty much be lined up with those. And I think the staff was okay with it, and the P&Z. There are these suggestions, or I don't think they're standards yet. Maybe the city is considering those standards, but there are these suggestions, and we certainly understand those. Obviously, we would prefer any variance that be granted without any conditions, but we know that there are these concerns, and we certainly have done all we can to address those. Becky, I think, has worked diligently in trying to resolve all of those suggestions that, to the extent that they may become conditions on a variance. However, as it came up at P&Z, there are a few of those, and if you count all of the subheadings, there's like 38 of them, and we're only looking at, I think, 3 or 4 that give us some issues, and we don't mind saying that the biggest concern that we have is that we retain our drives that we have there, that's been there for this period of time. That is important to us. We flow our traffic through, and we've actually, I think, got the okay from GDOT on that. But we hate to have to go back to GDOT since we have that, we feel like, in our pocket. And to the extent these sidewalks are in the GDOT right-of-way, and I think they do need some repair. They are, I don't know what happened to them. What we understand from Jaffe, who watched it all happen, is that some few years ago, they somebody created or built some maybe handicap or wheelchair access, which means cutting through the curb and slanting the sidewalk. And when that was installed, either they used the wrong materials, they used the wrong expansion joints, but now as it warms up, they are sticking up, and yes, that they do need repair. Obviously, that was done before we arrived, and in fact, Mr. Jones, who's not here tonight, but he was here at the P&Z, he's willing to even, put some of their resources toward the cost of repairing those sidewalks, but he thinks that the actual doing it or the permitting that may be required from GDOT should perhaps come from the city. So it's that condition that we are asking be removed from the suggestions and far as being attached to any variance grant as a condition of it. I think we can contribute some resources to that being done, but we don't want to have to be the one that does that. And I think that falls under item number 4 and possibly the second sentence of item number 9 of the suggestions from the staff. So what we were able to convince the Planning Commission would be to, if we were willing to accept all of these other conditions and the landscaping, I know that Councilman Boyum and Britt and others are very interested in. We're fine with all of those, and there's a good many of the conditions following under the landscaping, the green space, and we intend to do all of that and maybe then some. And even most of the other conditions we can live with, but the ones that we came up with that, first of all, conditions 2A, B, and D, we just determined really were not applicable to our particular building design, so that they didn't need to be in there. And then the two that I just mentioned were number 4 and number 9. I think what P&Z, they kind of split that one with us and suggested just to delete the second sentence of number 9. We could probably live with that, but I think what we would ask for is for course approval of our variance request to 10 feet. And if the council is of a mind to place conditions on that, then we would be acceptable to the conditions mentioned by staff, with the exceptions of 2A, 2B, 2D, 4, and 9.
So A, B, D, 4, and number 9?
Yes, sir.
Just starting with the easy one first. Number 9, depending on the final site layout, this may require the closure or relocation of the drive cut. That would, again, that's, whether we take that sentence out or not, it still applies.
Sorry, that was our discussion of planning commission, and I informed Mr. Rushing and his team at that time that if and when we permit this property, it has to be reviewed to the standards by city engineers, GDOT engineering. If it doesn't meet a permit, we're not issued. So, we feel a need sometimes to include these, like item number 9, comes for clarity's sake at a point like this, that it still will be reviewed closely.
Understood. I was just making sure that even if we took the language out, it wouldn't really change it.
That's right.
That's fine.
Right. We understand we've got to do that.
And as it regards the sidewalks, what were you saying, Steve?
The sidewalks which are on the GDOT right-of-way, it's not on our property that we would have total access to and control over. We have, we believe, GDOT's approval of our accesses that we have now. And I realize it's also got to be approved by the city as well. But that, anytime you have to go back to GDOT, we also asked them for the 5 feet that they allowed us on their setback. We just feel the better liaison with the GDOT perhaps would be the city, but we're willing to pay the cost of those repairs. If it's merely, the permits, I don't know that the city requires a permit to fix the sidewalks. We would, and so I think we'd rather be maybe the funding source for the repair of the sidewalks rather than the one who does the repair.
So what you're saying is that you would actually like the city to go to the Department of Transportation and say, we want to repair these sidewalks, and give us permission to do so, and then y'all will pay for that?
Send them a bill.
Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yes.
Okay.
Can we do that? Is it easier for us to fix sidewalks? Is that true? I mean, can we just go in and fix it as opposed to going through GDOT?
We have to get GDOT's approval, but otherwise.
Usually it's pretty easy for them to let us fix their sidewalks.
They usually don't object to us spending our money on this.
Let us fix your stuff. Okay, sure.
Yes.
I can speak on that behalf a little bit. I actually spoke with GDOT today, and it is just much easier for the city to go to GDOT and ask for an encroachment permit, which is what it's called, to go in and replace that. And if we needed to get it in writing, before, however it's done, that we will pay full cost for the construction of that to be completed. Construction and materials, everything.
Okay. So we asked for the permit, they granted, we fixed it, you pay for it.
Exactly.
Okay.
No problem.
Robert, Jason, no, I mean, it is.
I'm okay with that.
Thank you.
Okay, and then you go down to storefront design.
But I'm not sure can we eliminate 4 of them? And one of the things in there is clearly defined safe pedestrian access, provided front parking areas, adjacent public sidewalks. Are we causing any problem by taking it out, removing it completely?
Well, it's not in there yet. That's the thing. It's whether you put it in there. I think this could be done through a different process than putting a condition on what that we would have to do to have the variance.
It's certainly making, we can certainly say, they'll pay for it, sure, but is that?
It would just be a condition. They would pay for any associated sidewalk repair.
Where's that?
But does that address everything everything in 4's recommendation?
No.
I mean, if you get a checkbook out, we might as well keep asking for stuff. And he's finished like 2 million.
I mean, some of this stuff, like, you don't have to build a sidewalk to their specifications. It's in their right of way. And we've already got a sidewalk there, so, and it says sidewalks shall use decorative paving. Well, this is obviously decorative paving right there in front of Jackie Station is probably not warranted.
Kind of grayish.
Line that with what we, have a consistent flow with what is currently.
And clearly defined safe pedestrian access shall be provided from parking area, sidewalks, and the entrance. I mean, you can leave that because obviously you've got to provide safe access. Or you can't, it's not going to get approved. And continuous internal pedestrian walkways.
I guess what we had stated was a lot of this is exactly right. We go through permitting stages, and we understand that. It's just the more things that you add to the variance grant, maybe it's duplicate, perhaps. But I think these things are covered in the permitting stage. But as far as the cost of the sidewalks, I understand that would not be. I mean, we've stated we wouldn't do that.
Any other questions?
Not exactly. You know, I think the intention of the suggestions behind D and E are really to link the sidewalk to the storefront somehow. But again, that's just some feedback suggestions we heard earlier. I don't have an argument against it if council doesn't feel like it's ready to provide that. I think it's a good win to have sidewalk repaired. It is a desperate need of repair in that particular location. That if we accomplish that goal, I think that's good for the city.
I looked at that and read it kind of similarly, but to me, it's, if you were to try to link it to the building, you're still crossing traffic pulling in and out. So there's almost not a way to
make it.
There's almost no way to make it that you don't have to cross through the fuel pumps. I guess you wrap it around or something.
And that's the reason I think it's a better, as we start getting these designs and the engineers involved, they can figure those things out, where you start strapping them when you're placing these conditions on the rezone, on the variances.
I think Flash Foods is in the business of making it easy for their customers to get from their car to the store. Right? I mean, you're not going to make them run it off.
No, there's, in fact, there should be in your packet. Is it a design plan that's somewhat?
There won't be any like flaming pits.
Oh, no.
Our site will be completely paved from the sidewalk.
Be like Fear Factor trying to.
No, there'll be easy ways for pedestrians and customers to get around.
By the way, Mr. Stringer, we've been asked to deny this so you won't go out of business and retire. What do you say about that?
I was afraid some of my customers were going to be here.
questions?
All right, so I guess the only other things are going into that storefront design, A, B. We talked about, that's what's listed, so tell me, Mandy.
If, as you can see on the screen, Councilman, this is the rendering that the applicant has submitted. If you all are satisfied with that, I certainly am, that we can just attach that particular rendering as an approved rendering for this request.
And then we're moving to A, B, and D.
Yes, ma'am.
So,
And adding the proposed rendering as an attachment.
And then sidewalk too.
Yeah, I'm talking about this side. Okay.
this rendering being that.
I think that is the story that we would do on this side, yes. And if I'm right about this, on number 2, we were just removing B and D. I don't believe we were removing A.
It says A in the planning commission recommendation, but we can certainly put that back in. If you look at the bottom under
Well, okay, I think it was part of A. I take that back.
Okay.
Buildings should have consistent spacing of similar shaped windows. We would have that, but we would not have trim or decorative molding around the windows. The way that where the framing is on this actual store, it would not.
No,
We
yes.
could attach molding to around that.
Well, that's gonna be standard rolled steel window, right?
That's correct. And they would be similar, they wouldn't be different shapes or designs windows.
You say the line with LED lights.
I guess it was just easier to delete A rather than trying to delete
part of A.
part of it.
Yeah, I guess that's where we go with that.
So we're just going to delete A.
That was our, I think, our suggestion.
Because it looks like if we attach the drawing, it covers A.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think they're gonna put 17 different size windows on the thing.
Okay. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Yes, so moved.
Second, any discussion?
Anybody opposed to it?
That's a good question. I'm sorry. Thank you. Is anybody here?
Todd just opposed to it.
Is anybody here? I want you to read on my position out there. Is anybody here opposed to this?
I'm opposed at this moment. May I speak just a
Sure.
moment? I'd like a little more clarity on the drive. That's, as you know, for a convenience store, any commercial business, that's a critical part of what they're doing. And Mandy, I understand your condition, and I guess I'd just like to have a little more clarity. I'd like to leave here today knowing what we're going to do. We have engineering here. The condition is that engineering will approve this or not approve it at permit. You have a copy of the site plan. Is there anything, any comment that engineering has now that would, any comment on the site plan, current site plan, as to why they would or would not approve this?
Those are both existing cuts, right? In that
That's
type
correct.
of.
They've been there for.
You're going to continue the side cut.
Actually, yeah,
The side cut has actually been moved back to get it out of the way of the College Plaza sign, which is
Right.
kind of an obstacle. But, so that's been moved back to accommodate that
Okay.
change. But the other drives, we intend to leave the same, which has been approved by DOT, by the way.
Okay. Your response, Mandy, do you have any, what do y'all, are you okay with that at this point? Or Jason?
Sounds good.
Did you hear that?
I did.
Okay, just want to make sure.
I'm no longer opposed.
Okay, would anybody else like to speak about this project? Or this request? Okay, I'm gonna go back and say, do I have a motion to close the public hearing on application B150401? Do I have any discussion? All in favor, please state by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Public hearing is closed. Now I'm gonna make a motion, so here we go.
You can't make motions.
Well, I'm gonna ask for a motion, thank you, Phil. Do I have a motion to approve application B150401 with staff recommendations as follows, including recommendation 1? including recommendation 2C, including recommendation 3, removing recommendation 4, including recommendation 5, including recommendation 6, including recommendation 7, including recommendation 8, including recommendation 9 as specified. Driveway access. Access to the property shall be to the standards of the City of Statesboro as approved by the City Engineer's Office, period. Also would like to add that the site plan that has been submitted in the drawing, the drawing of the building that has been submitted, be an attachment to the motion and the building built as specified in the drawing.
And sidewalks.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And that the city will ask for the encroachment permit, install sidewalks as appropriate, and bill the Jones Company as listed in the motion for the cost of that.
Is that the appropriate company to build?
That's correct.
Yeah, okay.
The applicant. So, do I have a motion?
So.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Can you repeat that, John?
All in favor, please state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Consideration of a motion to approve resolution 2015-11, which is to adopt second amendment for fiscal year 2015 budget. Cindy. We know a couple of lottery winners right there.
Cindy West, Finance Director. This is a resolution to adopt the second budget amendment for the fiscal year 2015. There is an attachment showing the increases and decreases amongst the different funds to bring our budget in line with the proposed expenditures and revenues. And I will also be bringing forth another budget amendment at the last council meeting in June to clean up some other areas.
Okay.
Is there any questions?
I did have just a quick question for you, Cindy, and this is, maybe it's not exactly related, but since we're talking about money, I'm just curious why we're so close to the end, and maybe you can tell me this, why we're so close to the end of the year, but water, natural gas, and disposal are still at like 70% collection. Is there something that comes in at the end of the year? Are we only counting it like a couple months behind, or are we going to be way behind at the end of the year? Because this is what, April, May, I mean, we're...
Some of it is lost. Some of the revenues are actually coming in under budget than what we projected, but the expenses are coming in under as well.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Do I have a motion to approve resolution 2015-11?
Motion approved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Agenda item 10, consideration of a motion to purchase all kind of stuff. 8 Dodge Chargers, 2 Ford Explorers, 1 Ford Escape. So, Mr. Ryan.
Mayor, Council, the motion before you includes purchases from the CIP projects for FY15. It'll be for 8 Dodge Chargers for the Patrol Bureau, 2 Ford Explorers for investigations, and a Ford Escape that would be used as a proposed alcohol beverage control officer vehicle. If funded, if not, that vehicle would replace a vehicle that we would fund in CIP for FY16. There is an attachment to this. I would also ask you to consider which is listed as attachment A, surplusing a list of vehicles that will keep us from coming back to request those vehicles being surplus in the future. Some of these vehicles we will be replacing. I will point out that the Dodge Chargers will be 2014 year models. We have found a vendor in Florida who has numerous in stock, and we will be purchasing those through the National Auto Fleet Group contract, which the city is now a member of, at a savings of over $3,000 from the current state contract per vehicle. All vehicles will be purchased through either the National Fleet Auto Group contract or through state contract.
I'm sorry, Rob, could you repeat the first sentence you said? You said something about if it's not used for this, we use it for this.
If the Ford Escape is being purchased now in this proposal for the alcohol beverage control position, which will be coming up within the budget to be voted on. Right. If that position is not funded, we will use that vehicle to replace a vehicle that will be purchased in the FY16 CIP. That is correct. And the funding for that vehicle was just voted on the amendment, the budget amendment, to move that money to CIP.
So you use it one way or the other?
That will be correct, sir.
Figured you would.
Okay, do I have any other questions for Major Bryan? All right, do I have a consideration of a motion to purchase 8 2014 Dodge Chargers, 2 2016 Ford Explorers, and 1 2016 Ford Escape for the Statesboro Police Department?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, we have the surplus part as well. He had mentioned the
attachment A.
We're going to come back for another council meeting.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what?
The attachment surplus to
You want to do that?
Oh, and the surplus?
Okay.
You can just make a separate motion to surplus those in attachment A.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so move.
Wait a minute, whoa, stop, what was surplusing? What we asked?
The list of vehicles in attachment A is presented by Rob Ryan in the packet.
Well,
You have 3 2002 Ford Crown Vics.
okay.
2 2006 Chevy Impalas will be transferred to the Training Bureau. A 2003 Impala and 2005 Expedition will be transferred to the Fire Department, and a 2001 Dodge van will be surplus for auction.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve attachment A as stated?
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Do we move to 11? We're good? Okay. Motion to approve resolution 2015-12, requesting approval for the Statesboro Police Department to apply for the Bureau of Justice Assistance Competitive Grant fiscal year 2015.
Mayor, Council, this competitive grant is for body-worn camera pilot implementation program. We actually have a CIP that will be coming before you, FY16, PD project number 35, that proposes funding for body-worn cameras. Captain Corney has been working on this application already. We're requesting approval to apply for this application. It should be noted, this is a 50-50 match grant. However, we requested $42,063 in FY16 CIP number 35, and we hope that this would fund 50% of that.
So the total would be 84, or the total would be, the grant would be 21?
The grant could be up to $250,000. However, they are allowing us to apply for more in the grant than we have in the CIP project, to include server space, etc. We'll be working with the IT department on those issues and anything else. We felt that we could pull the project off implementation on its base at 42,063. We hope to fund at least 50% of that through the grant, if not more, but we would have a match of 50%. And we would ask that not go over the budgeted $42,063 that's already included in CIP.
And that's in CIP 2016?
16, yes ma'am.
So we've already provided funding for it, this is just...
We have requested it, it's not been approved yet.
Right, but it's in the budget.
Yes ma'am.
So this would be some nice candy.
Yes ma'am.
Okay.
So again, just because you confused me a second time, are you seeking a $42,000 grant, or is this part of a larger grant?
This is only to apply for the grant. We do not have a budget completed yet. This is to go ahead and move forward so that we can come back to you at the next council meeting.
So you would use the $42,000 budgeted as match towards, as part of the match towards this
if
grant?
we are awarded this grant.
If, yeah, of course. Got it.
This would provide cameras for how many officers?
It would be all of the Uniform Patrol Bureau from the rank of sergeant down.
This is a very competitive range. It's going to be extremely small funded windows.
Everybody wants body cam. Okay. Any other questions before I ask for a motion? Okay, I need consideration of a motion to approve resolution 2015-12 requesting approval for the Statesboro Police Department to apply for the Bureau of Justice Assistance FY 2018 grant not to exceed $42,063.
Do you want to put that condition on them as far as asking, that just means you put a, you said they can't apply for a grant for more than $42,000?
No,
but you're saying there's an IT portion as well, right?
It helps any. I'm anticipating asking for approximately $60,000, which means $30,000 we would be responsible for. That's preliminary, but it should cost the city any more than $30,000, which would be inside of that 42. So.
Why not ask for equal?
Why not ask for the max? You're afraid if we ask for the max, we won't get it. We won't get anything.
We wouldn't need it. They're anticipating 16 total awards being given nationwide. So it's X amount of dollars. You know, I guess the less you ask for, the more opportunity is for other agencies to be awarded the grant.
Right.
They're
Do you know how
anticipating
much
16 awards if all 16 ask for $250,000.
You know exactly how much you're going to ask for overall?
I do not at this point, but I'm anticipating no more than $60,000.
So if we said to approve requesting for the Statesboro Police Department to apply for the Bureau of Justice Assistance competitive grant up to $60,000, would that be accurate?
Yes.
Does that make sense to everybody?
Mayor, this is just to check the box on the application for the grant.
Right.
Once, if we were lucky enough to get the grant, then we would have to come back before you
For a budget.
and detail those questions you're asking for. More detail.
So yes, you want to let them apply for the grant.
Okay, here we go. Consideration of a motion to approve resolution 2015-12, a resolution requesting approval for the Statesboro Police Department to apply for the Bureau of Justice Assistance fiscal year 2015 competitive grant body-worn camera pilot implementation program. This grant, if awarded, will require a 50% match from the City of Statesboro. Funding for this match will come from FY16 CIP number PD-35, which is proposed at $42,063 for body-worn cameras. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Do I have any discussion? All in favor, please state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
Agenda item 12, consideration of a motion to purchase NetMotion wireless VPN solutions from Insight Public Sector in the amount of $23,852.50.
Any questions? We are, part of our implementation, we actually budgeted for this in next year's budget, but we're having to establish a direct connection with GCIC, which is the database for the GBI. And so in order to do this, we've got to beef up a few things, and in order to make some timelines work with the implementation of the SunGuard software, we need to go ahead with this purchase. It's in the IT service fund. It's just we are requesting the purchase early. This will take care of 60 users, and then our maintenance, our yearly maintenance will be approximately 25%, which is kind of standard in new software.
And this is just creating a private network for public service, or?
It's for the city. It's for the city, but the bulk of it will be our MDTs, which is the
computers in the police cars?
Yes. But this will also allow us to push our Windows updates and antivirus up to the cars.
Through wireless as opposed to bringing the laptops
yes.
in?
And so it will give us a lot more flexibility as an IT department to monitor. And also we'll have web content filtering, because all of the traffic will come through this network as opposed to having. So there's some other advantages that we'll have a lot more control of what goes on in the cars. All right.
Can you virtually change Sergeant or Captain Forney's screen too?
We can turn the screen upside down if we have to.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, I have a motion to purchase Net Motion Wireless VPN solution from Insight Public Sector in the amount of $23,252.20.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, consideration of a motion to award a contract for the renovation of the old PD building for the expansion of the municipal courtroom and relocated municipal court and information technology offices to Chris Merrill Construction for $385,000. Mr. Franklin.
It's, this is treated as a public works project. Anything over 100,000 or more has to be bonded and bid out a certain number of days, and we certainly followed that process. In this process, we had a mandatory pre-bid with 7 contractors showing up. We had 3 that submitted sealed bids. The budget for this project we had was $385,000. As you see before you, the bids came in. The lowest bid, base bid started at $420,000. We had an alternate deduct of $106 for a net of $314,000 if we chose that option. The alternate deduct, I believe, had to do with municipal court being expanded was the main issue there. It's our desire to get as much of that done as we can and utilize the amount we had budgeted. The recommendation for this is to approve up to $385,000 to attempt to get the complete project done, maybe do some value engineering, see what we can do to achieve this. I believe our Palmer architect here, about some detailed info on what we might propose to come in at that amount. That's our recommendation, to award the bid to Chris Merrill Construction for a maximum of $385,000. And this will renovate the building for municipal court, IT facilities, and also the city gym that's utilized largely by police and fire and other departments.
Won't you rid of that little house for paying bills? Don't you pay bills? I don't know, I don't go to municipal court that often.
I believe the idea is to get rid of that and use it as
It's not included in this project, but eventually that'll be torn down and additional parking.
What about the parking lot that's there?
This does not fund overlaying that, but we're going to try to tie that into another project and get that done at the same time.
Okay.
In some fashion. And of course, we would have liked to have met the budget on this, but unfortunately, we were stretching to get to the $385,000. That's what we're just taking it under that. I don't feel comfortable that we can find the 420. And you might say, well, why didn't you reduce the scope? But there's nothing magical, unfortunately, about that $385,000. That's just SPOS had $300,000 in it. We came up with another $85,000 for lots of different funds, and we shifted over to that. And if I recall, it was over $1 million. It used to be in SPOS, and it just got cut, and it got down to $300,000. So I actually think that the 420 is a good price, but 385 would be a great price for what we're going to get accomplished over there.
He got cut back. Yeah, he never got moved around.
Where'd it go?
Cindy, we're on it. They get moved to.
They got moved to the police department and fire stations.
Okay.
So we're going to get a lot done, including expanding that the municipal court itself, putting in new offices, because the offices that the municipal court is in right now are in terrible shape. So it's going to move them in there. I like the fact that they're going to have other people around them rather than just them isolated over there in the office. It's got a lot of positive to it. And we're going to paint the building. We decided to paint it. We're going to paint it so it's going to look more. It's not going to look as grand as the PD, but it's going to look nice.
So I guess the question then for somebody, and maybe it's for Garth, what are we losing with the $35,000? Are we not either square footage or we don't get bathrooms in one of them? I mean, don't go to Portland to pee. I don't know how cool it is. We gotta be losing something.
For the record, my name's Garth Long. I'm with Palm Architects. We did the design on the renovation. We haven't gone as far as to look at all the value engineered items. Of course, no, we would not want to lose anything. Maybe we can do it through repurposing some of the equipment, fixtures that are in there currently in the building. A major cost of that additional was the square footage addition to the courtroom. But we do not anticipate that we're going to lose that. We'll try to do it through material selection and sustainable design to get it within 385.
So what you're saying is we really aren't going to lose anything?
We may lose in the nicer finishes. We will try to do what we can to get it there. Furniture, things of that nature may have to be utilized, used, that sort of thing. General, the dirty VE work that comes along with what gets cut in a value engineered package.
We were going to put in all new ceiling, I think. We might drop back, and if there's some offices in the ceiling, it looks decent in IT. IT will just have to have an ugly ceiling.
They used to be in the basement. They're just thinking in the budget, the size of our budget, and when we go spend things, I mean, I'm not saying we get banned, we go put a fire hydrant in until paying the money to figure out how to pay for 35. I understand, I don't want to have that. I don't know the correct term that doesn't sound as derogatory.
I don't like
it. Building.
Well, you don't want to save a couple of bucks to make your curbing not look consistent, in other words?
Yeah, I mean, I just.
Well, I will say this, where it is now, I mean, we have, when we bid it out, we had cut it to bare bones, I felt like. Hopefully through, repurposing some of the materials that are in there, that's where we'll find the rest of it.
Yeah. We had the same, that would typically be what we would try to do, but we stretched it to get to the 385, and we've still got the parking lot, just got some other things. We may have a change order in there that we don't know about. I didn't feel comfortable saying we had the 420. We could get.
No designer likes the word value engineer. It's a polite way of saying we're fixing to cut something up.
What kind of insulation is in that building?
Do what?
What kind of insulation is in that building?
Minimal.
Okay.
Just a block building.
Okay. That's it. Okay.
So what you're saying, you got the 420?
No.
That's kind of all I'm saying. I am.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, right? It would do it. It would really help. I just think that the citizens voted for X amount of dollars for us to renovate municipal court.
That's actually not
Right? I thought we did, right? Well, that's what that's what folks were sold on years ago. We're gonna do a new courtroom.
It actually never got technically got funded with public safety. Yeah. It never really
Forever ago.
So we had to figure it out.
Well, I mean,
There's
is
been money
it
spent out of it.
possible to
voted
come
on.
back and say you need an extra whatever?
But y'all
Make a
could,
decision if you want to do it at that.
I mean, you could approve up to 420. And with us having the discretion of seeing what we can get it down to.
And that's up there.
Yeah, and we'll do everything we can to get it to 385. And if not, then you'll have to come up with a little bit of money.
Well, I mean, IT gets folding chairs. That's where you start. Yeah. IT's out of that cell.
Okay. Do I have a consideration of a motion to award a contract for the renovation of the old PD building for the expansion of the municipal courtroom and relocated municipal court and information technology offices to Chris Merrill Construction not to exceed $420,000?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, thank you very
Thank
much. All right, do we have any other business from city council? I do not have any. Okay, city manager's comment?
I don't have any other.
Yes, sir. Okay, and next.
Mayor, I just have one thing, it's just a quick letter. And I just want to mention Wendell and especially Captain Forney, and I think Robert Siemens was out there, but I got a letter from Miss Carter over there on, well, I won't say where she's at, but she sent me letters dating all the way back to 2005 about an issue, and Captain Forney went out there, I gave him the letters, and within 2 weeks, him and Robert, who else went out there with you? And you guys put a sign out there, and she's tickled pink. So thank you very much for doing that. So 10 years of not being heard, and she's very happy right now.
City manager's comments, public comments that Ms. Ellis withdrew that request to make a public comment. So do we have any other public comments? Ms. C. Okay, do I have a motion to enter into executive session to discuss personnel matters and potential litigation? Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?